The next session is I think a much awaited session. If you remember, on the first day, we had a lot of discussion around the role of communities in inclusive development. We had T. Vijay Kumar, sir, IAS, the first mission director of NRLM, who joined us on the first day to address us on the role of communities, and followed by a panel with NRLMs and SRLMs. Today we have someone whose life has revolved around building community institutions, and I'm really happy to invite uh, uh, SS Meenakshi Sundaram sir, IAS officer, retired 1968 cadre. He's a chairman of MyRADA. He has worked extensively in building Panchayati Raj institutions. He was three-time joint secretary to 3 prime ministers, and thus has published books, has done a lot of research work, teaches. Very happy to invite you, sir. And we also have Professor Kripa Anantapur, professor at MIDS, Madras Institute of Development Studies, whose work has also revolved around Panchayati Raj institutions, on community institutions, and on various contexts, and in various contexts, and on various topics, on how can what is the role of Panchayati Raj institutions in inclusive development, especially in these times. What is the role of Panchayati Raj institutions in times of crises? What is the opportunity and challenge with decentralization? A very lively topic. T. Vijay Kumar sir mentioned Meenakshi Sundaram sir's work when he opened the session, and it's something that we have all been waiting for. We also have the same stream live on YouTube, on Quint Media's YouTube channel with 2.3 million subscribers. We have audience joining us here on Zoom as well, and on other streaming platforms. We will try to bring you questions from the audience through this session. Right now, I just want to hand it over to Professor Kripa Anantapur to take the session forward.
Thank you, John, very much. And good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining for the session. Sir, as one of the architects who was involved in framing the 73rd Amendment to the Constitution, how do you think the PRIs are managing the current crisis? And what role can they play, and are they playing currently?
Let me start by saying that under the 11th schedule of the Constitution, the responsibility for natural resource management, public health, dispensaries, public health centers, all that is essentially the responsibility of the Panchayat Raj institutions. We also included water, watershed development, forestry, anything that relates to the common man, including the public distribution system, is the responsibility of the Panchayat Raj institutions. Even in the case of disasters, essentially when it is localized, it is the local Panchayat which takes the initiative. And when they feel that they do not have adequate finances or support, they go to the state government and ask for extra support. Now, there are 2 types of disasters which we have. Supposing if the disaster covers the whole country, and there is a major problem, then probably the single Panchayat will not be able to handle that. In such a situation, under the Disaster Management Act, the central government and the state government get in, they give the money, they give the expertise, but it is essentially the job of the local Panchayat to ensure that the disaster is mitigated. That is what we had seen in the case of tsunami in Tamil Nadu, floods in the case of Orissa and in Andhra Pradesh. So it was essentially the local Panchayat. So the first point I want to make is, it is essentially the responsibility of the Panchayat to ensure that at the time of crisis, they get in and manage. Now that is the theory portion. What is the practical side? So we have COVID-19 right in front of us. There is a state by name Kerala, as you know, where it started. And now international press itself is recognizing that Kerala has done an excellent job. The curve is more or less flattened, and the others should learn from Kerala. Now, what is the experience of Kerala? They have done two things. One, they have recognized that this is not a mere health issue, it is an issue involving the society also. Therefore, they involve the panchayats right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Two things are mentioned in the press. One is the establishment of public health institutions right down to the village in Kerala. That system works. The second thing is for the displaced labor, they ran community kitchens and they gave either free or at reasonable prices. But what they do not mention is Kerala do not have direct access to the government. They work under the panchayat. The panchayat has the responsibility of supervising the public health institutions. Second, even the community kitchens, they were run by the local panchayats and they managed. The idea came from the state government, but the implementation entirely was in the hands of the panchayat. So the second point I want to make is not only in theory, but also in the practice, panchayats have got a major role to play in crisis management.
Crisis management.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you. So what we see actually is different states have adopted different strategies in COVID-19 management and operationalizing the relief packages, etc. Some which had invested in local governments as Kerala and Karnataka have actually used Gram Panchayats to deliver these services, whereas some other states have kind of bypassed these panchayats and focused more on self-help groups to do the last mile deliveries and use them as the last mile delivery platforms. Now, I think in Kerala particularly, Kutumbashree is entrenched within the local governance system. So there is a kind of a complementarity between these two institutions. And SHGs ultimately are community-based organizations and don't have governance mandate. So could you just shed a little more light on this, please?
We have a large number of self-help groups all over the country. And there are two types. One is the linkage between the self-help group and the panchayat. It is very strong in Kerala. Therefore, they have been able to work through the self-help groups. In many other states, they are independent institutions. But according to me, self-help group is nothing but deepening of democracy. See, in the Panchayat Raj system, the bottommost thing is called the Gram Sabha. And below the Gram Sabha is the self-help groups, village institutions like educational institutions, the watershed development groups. These are all below the Panchayat, which means a deepening of democracy. They also have to work through the Gram Sabha. In my view, it is better we go right down to the people. Who is the stakeholder we should be reaching first? The best way of reaching him is through the panchayat, and if the panchayat is large enough, through the self-help groups or any other institution which is within that village, and there has to be a proper coordination between the two. That is what is happening in Kerala.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, sir, for that explanation. Now, going forward, pandemic is going to be contained at some point of time, but the aftermath and after effects of this pandemic are going to continue for a long time. For example, there has been complete reverse migration happening with lot of migrant laborers going back to the villages. Gram Panchayats, as you know, are already cash strapped. So financially, they are not in very strong situation. Now, do you think that we should be looking at going forward, we should be looking at a very different development model where panchayats are going to be the catalyst that will be rejuvenating the rural economy?
Yes, in my view, this COVID-19 has created an excellent opportunity for the panchayats to help people and perform better. There are three things which come to my mind straight away. The first point is, luckily, the COVID impact is very serious in the urban part of India. In the rural portions of India, it is not that strong. And luckily, the problem which the local people faced was their production was on, agriculture was continuing, they had plenty of fruits and vegetables, but that could not reach the urban areas. There was a gap between the production and the ultimate consumer. In the case of dairy, you will remember we have a very strong system of cooperatives.
Yeah.
The milk is produced at the village level, it is procured at the village cooperative society, it is processed at the district level, and the marketing is being done by the milk union, which also is an organization of the producers.
Yeah.
So, and we do not have, even in the cities, as you will agree with me, we didn't have a problem for milk, but we had problem for vegetables, we had problem for fruits, and the supply chain was not very strong in this sector. The first opportunity, therefore, is can we create some kind of a farmers producers groups? Even the finance minister in her first budget speech, she said that we will have FPOs, the farmer producers organizations. This is the ideal time to get into different sectors, whether it is turmeric, whether it is cotton, whether it is vegetable, fruits, all of them, we can form farmers producers cooperative societies and give them enough financial support to process and also market in the areas nearby. This is the first opportunity which the COVID-19 provides. The second opportunity, according to me, is, as you rightly said, this problem is going to continue. COVID-19, none of us know when exactly it is going to end. It will take months, it will take years. In such a case, what is that we are supposed to do? We are supposed to take preventive mechanism. What are these preventive mechanisms? One is wear the mask. Second is personal hygiene, hand washing, etc. Now, if you want to do hand washing, you need water. And the priority will have to be for water and sanitation. Luckily, the panchayats do not have problems of money because they have adequate allocation through the 15th Finance Commission grants and the State Finance Commission grants. As long as the state governments do not cut these grants and give the entire money to the panchayat, they have enough money to prepare a Gram Panchayat development plan, which is happening all over the country even now. Now, ensure that they give priority for water and sanitation. We have one area where desilting of tanks can be taken up immediately. We do this in Mairada. In a district, in Mysore district, we have completely taken over all the tanks and we have agreed we will ensure that people and support them in desilting the tanks. So this kind of water supply and sanitation priorities, now people will agree money should be available because that is required for COVID-19. That is the second important thing we can do. And with one, I'll stop. The third one is the labor which we said. Now we have what is called the reverse migration. People are going back from urban areas to villages. How do you keep them engaged? In my view, it is better that they are given adequate opportunities in the village itself. How do you give? One is the NREGA. The government says we will give enough money. In the GPDP itself, they can propose a lot of schemes which will employ labor. But my bigger point is the MSME. The government in the center keeps saying we are going to give substantial money for the micro, small and medium enterprises. We have the labor available in the village now. The reverse migration have given labor there. Can we not think of creating one MSME in each panchayat? Now, supposing if we have it, we base it on the locally available raw material. And with the raw material available locally and with labor available currently, we will be able to establish one definite MSME per panchayat. If that is done, we will be able to provide employment to the labor and also some kind of a return to the panchayats, and we will gradually make them become institutions of
excellence,
economic importance. I think these are the three things which I think at the current situation we should be able to do.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for that excellent laying out of opportunities and challenges that are going to be, we have to foresee in the near future. Pandemic by nature requires decentralized relief operations and other mechanisms through which people can be reached. And in that sense, the local governments have become the ideal or critical third tier of governance to reach the people. But as we know, unlike Kerala and many other states, including Karnataka, the health department does not come under the purview of the panchayats. And the nearest adequate health facility is either at the block or at the district level. So though the preventive measures have helped, with the reverse migration happening, if the people, asymptomatic people are going back to the villages, from the health point of view, what kind of challenges can we foresee in the near future?
The real challenge will be to see that the people who now go from the urban areas to the rural areas in the form of reverse migration, how do we get them integrated with the existing set of people? Luckily, they have their own families. They have a place to stay. Now, we need to collect at the panchayat level, at the Gram Sabha, who are all the people who are available. Today, we talk so much about migrant labor. Do we have a record of the migrant labor with us? Can we say from every village, how many people have gone to which place? What is their skill? So according to me, the starting point should be to convene a Gram Sabha. Maybe at the moment it may not be possible because of the social distancing, but you can still have a Gram Sabha after maybe a few days. With ensuring social distancing, we can have a Gram Sabha. We need to identify how many people have come to this village and what are their skills. Once we have that idea, then probably some of them can be put onto the NREGA works, which can be a part of the Gram Panchayat development plan. And for some others, we need to think of a small and medium industry, depending upon the availability of raw material, and which is special for a particular district or a particular village panchayat. And that is the only way to help them also. But again, I repeat, we should be clear about the roles of the different tiers of the government.
Yeah.
In my view, the crisis management at the village level should be the essential responsibility of the Gram Panchayat. They will keep the people informed through the Gram Sabhas, and it is easier to convene a Gram Sabha rather than having a dissemination at a state or central level. Second, once the data is available, the state and the central government should support them in two ways. One is by providing adequate finance. Second is by building their capacities. And educating the people at the level of the panchayat head is the responsibility of the state. Bringing it from the state and passing it on to the local people should be the responsibility of the Gram Panchayat Pradhan and his other members. If we can link the different tiers of governance, probably we will be able to deal with any crisis much better.
Much better, yeah. Thank you, sir. One of the very interesting things that those of us who've been working in the field of, panchayats have noticed is that many panchayats independently have been taking these resolutions, passing resolutions, particularly in Karnataka and Kerala, like no person will go hungry in our within the jurisdiction of the Gram Panchayat. So they're actually making provisions to kind of deliver dry rations or hot midday meals to the locally needed people, vulnerable groups, poor and others. And this is for the first time Gram Panchayats are acting very proactively and also kind of taking initiatives to mitigate hunger and ensure food security. So do you think panchayats in a way after 27 years have come of age and this is a very defining moment for panchayats in India, and going forward they can truly be local self-government?
Yes. See, the Panchayat Raj, as you know, has got a huge history in this country. Why did we go in for Panchayat Raj? When we started the Indian Constitution, we only made a directive principles saying that we will have panchayats, but nothing we did. panchayats came into existence in this country to ensure that there is people's participation in the activities of the government. The Balwant Rai Mehta committee started the panchayats for the simple reason that that is the method through which people can involve in the development programs of the state. Now, it went on. Finally, in 1992, when we made the Constitution's 73rd Amendment, it was recognized that the Panchayat Raj institutions will be the recognized tier of governance.
Yeah.
They are not only development institutions, the responsibility for economic planning and social justice also was given to the panchayats. Now, it has now been more than 25 years. Still, we have in some states where the panchayats are very strong. They are active, they are able to do work by themselves. Like in Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Sikkim, there are a number of states where the panchayats are able to act. In several other states, we have not been able to ensure that the panchayat raj functions. There are two reasons for that. One is, by definition, the panchayats are very small. In some states, 10 panchayats have got one gram panchayat accountant to manage that. We need to ensure that whenever the panchayats are small, we create a cluster of panchayats which can become the center for activity in that area. Now, the time has come, according to me, that we should recognize panchayats as a regular tier of governance as envisaged under the Constitution Amendment. Now, my first point, therefore, will be in all the states where the Panchayat Raj institutions have not been given the funds, functionaries and functions, we need to give that first, like what we have in a few other states. Second, once it is given, we should recognize that they should be allowed to do the work. See, the big problem in our country is we always believe that we want decentralization up to us and not below us. If it goes, probably they will mess it up. That approach has to go. We have to give it to them, even if they make a mess of it, it is all right. It is their money, their area, their people. If they are going to make a mistake, so be it. The advantage there is there can be a social audit at the village level. And people will come and say, if you do not do a good job, they can tell openly that you are not doing a good job. So that advantage we have. In my view, we need to strengthen the panchayats by not only giving funds, functions and functionaries, but also ensuring a social audit system. Thereby, people can come and say what is happening and what is not happening. Once I know that I am answerable to the people, it is presumed my performance will be better. So I believe time has come now, thanks to the COVID-19. We need to ensure that this is given to the panchayats. Now, let's take a minute's break. Find out why exactly now the COVID-19 has come from the center to the state and from the state to the districts. Realize the ideas can come from the center, but the action has to be at the local level. So in a pandemic, it is better. The idea can be globalized, but the solution has to be localized. If I have an opportunity, I will certainly recommend that even when to lock down, when to remove the lockdown, how to do that, all that can be decided either district-wise or preferably the block or the panchayat-wise. Then the local people themselves will decide that will be better to deal with this pandemic.
Yeah. There are about 3 questions from the audience, and two of them I had seen that they are about reverse migration. So I'll read both one after the other, and then you can actually respond to it, and then we take the third question, sir, if you don't mind. The first question by Mr. Shyam is, had the panchayats have been taken into confidence by the district administration, could we have limited reverse migration of people to their native places by helping people wherever they were staying? And again, saying, as we have seen many people who have reverse migrated to their native places, can we have village skill mapping of these, start SHGs or creating employment in nearby places itself? So this is about reverse migration and then what to do about reverse migration.
Okay. The reverse migration is now a reality. When the people have come from urban areas to the rural areas to which they belong, there are 2 options. One is they go back. which I don't think is a realistic option, and it may not happen in the near future. The second option is how to keep them employed, engaged at the local level itself. We have enough responsibilities, enough needs at the village level. We have money at the village level. So as I said earlier, we need to have the data. How many people have come to each village? Can we have a data panchayat wise? Now you will find in this country data available at the district level, data available at the block level, no data at the Gram Panchayat level. Now we should break it. The district administration need to take it straight to the blocks first. If they have a plan block wise, then from the block it can go to the Gram Panchayats. In my view, if the panchayats are big enough, like the ones in Kerala or in West Bengal, probably they can afford to have a small scale industry right in the panchayat itself. Making use of the money available under MSE and also finding out what is the locally available raw material there, and with the list of people who have come back, it is possible to have an MSME. That is what I would recommend. But if the village is very small and they cannot take up a unit by themselves, my answer will be have it at the block level or have it at the cluster of villages level. In my view, it is possible. Reverse migration, whether we like it or not, it has happened. Now the question is how do we deal with that? In my view, dealing with that is to make use of the skills, make use of the availability of raw material, and make use of the existence of the panchayat. Marry these three things together and establish one MSME at a convenient place. That's what I would recommend.
Let me read out the next question. Isn't it right time to village panchayats relief fund where they can prepare for any situation? Basically, isn't it necessary to have a disaster relief fund at the village level itself? And now also campaign fund is devolved to district rather than panchayats. So basically this is about creating a kind of a fund for future disaster relief management at the panchayat level. Is it necessary to set up something similar like that?
Okay, in my view, it is not necessary. See, we have what is called the Gram Panchayat Development Plan in most part of the country even now. The Gram Panchayat Development Plan is prepared on the basis of the monies available from the Central Finance Commission, State Finance Commission, their own source of income and other monies coming into the panchayat. Now, what I would recommend is, when you prepare a Gram Panchayat development plan, make a provision for the disaster management.
Yeah.
Also, have a reservation. How do we manage our houses? We don't expect a disaster every time. We always keep some money for a rainy day. You get your salary or income, you have your expenditure. You keep some small savings for a rainy day. The same habit has to be developed for the panchayats. But we have plenty of money at the state and central level under the disaster management program. A portion of that can be regularly handed over to the panchayats also. Tell them that you make a provision for a disaster management plan and act upon it if there is a necessity. If there is no necessity, save the money for a real rainy day, and at that time you can use. In a larger disaster like a COVID-19, funds have to necessarily flow from the central and state governments to the district and down to the panchayats. The systems are strong and we should be able to release the monies very quickly.
There are 3 more questions, so I will just read it out. One is that how can NGOs and panchayats work together in this situation? Can panchayat itself mitigate the issue by itself? What are the possible solutions hereafter?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Okay. Basically, how can NGOs and panchayats work together in this situation? Can panchayat itself mitigate the issue? What are the possible solutions? Basically asking whether panchayats and NGOs need to work together or panchayats can manage them, the entire process by itself.
See, straight away, in my view, the more the merrier. The panchayats, rural development and disaster management is a large area It can accommodate any number of players. There is no fight or misunderstanding between the NGOs and the panchayats. But traditionally, I find most of the NGOs are very happy to handle at the district level or at the state level. Many of them might feel a little below the dignity to come down to the panchayat. That we should give up. The NGOs will be willing to work with the people. I find that idea is changing now. We in Mairana go right down to the village, and we are very comfortable with the village panchayat president and village panchayat members. Now, what can the NGOs do? First, in the preparation of the Gram Panchayat development plan, many a times the panchayats need some support. For example, in Krishnagiri district, we organized that. We went to the panchayats, we told them these are all your, we asked them what are your problems, and in an open Gram Sabha, they say these are our problems. You can give an expertise. This is what Kerala did when they did their people's campaign for planning. They took the problem from the villages. There are experts. They prepare the projects, and that role can be played by the NGOs. And as I said earlier, taking the desilting of tanks, sanitation work, menstrual hygiene. These are areas where NGOs have got the expertise. They will be able to go to the panchayat and they should work together. And one last thing about that is, in the Gram Sabhas, we should make the best use of the knowledge of the NGO and the local expertise to find solutions to the problem which the local people can mention. That's it.
So there is one more question.
Yeah.
Do panchayats have the same decision-making powers today as originally conceived under the Indian Constitution? Have they weakened? How to make them stronger?
I believe power is never given. It has got to be taken. In the case of panchayats also, under the law they have got adequate powers. The problem is we are not strong enough to use that. In my view, the panchayats have to take the power and act. See, it again depends. The same law available to the Kerala is also available to Uttar Pradesh, Bihar or Madhya Pradesh. So who is that in Kerala and Karnataka they are able to perform through the panchayats, and in some other state they are not able to perform? The law is common. Therefore, my solution is that as long as the existing law is available, people should act. The panchayat should be strong enough to act. Again, as you asked earlier, the role of an NGO is to strengthen the panchayats. They have to strengthen the social audit systems. They have to make the panchayats feel you are strong enough. You are under the law, an equal entity like the state government or the central government. You have the powers to do it. It depends from state to state. Unless I ask, people do not give me the power. Two things I would recommend. One, the panchayats should unhesitatingly act upon the powers already available with them. If there is a need for some more powers, the panchayats can join together and take it up with the state government and get more powers. To my mind, powers are available, but we are weak in exercising that.
Yeah. So let me see if there are any more questions. No, it seems like at the moment there aren't any more questions. So, sir, going back to what you were talking about, the scale of setting up some sort of a rural economic enterprises in Karnataka under the Mandal Panchayat Act, that was a kind of a critical size to start anything that was like a small enterprises. Feeding for the area of villages which would come under Mandal Panchayat. Now the Gram Panchayat, particularly for example in Karnataka, is just 5 to 6 villages. In Tamil Nadu, it may be like one big village with many habitations, etc. So do you think that between, say, the Taluka Panchayat and the Gram Panchayat, there is a need to kind of, for economic activities, have a viable unit as such?
Good question. See, there are two types of panchayats here. There are panchayats with a population of 20-30,000, as in the case of Kerala.
Yeah.
It is possible to have a separate unit, an MSME at the panchayat level itself. That provides enough labor and also a ready market to buy the things which are produced in this industry, which is possible. Why did we do Mandal Panchayat in the past in Karnataka? Our Gram Panchayats were very small. A population of 5,000 is not good enough to prepare a separate plan and also to create a small MSME. So what we did was have a larger unit which we call as Mandal Panchayat, which a population which is as good as a Gram Panchayat population in Kerala today. Now, I would therefore say either at the Taluka level, the block Panchayat or the intermediate Panchayat as we call, or at the level between the Gram Panchayat and the block Panchayat, we can establish these economic units. To establish an economic unit, there are 2-3 important requirements. One is the availability of skills. Second is the availability of raw material. The third is the requirement of funds. The panchayats can give all the 3. They can decide which is the suitable area from where they can reach the market. They can establish the unit. It is possible. Even now, we are trying that in different village panchayats in Karnataka.
Yeah.
Can we identify what are the raw materials which are readily available there and how to make use of them? Another example I will give is in Europe district of Tamil Nadu. For turmeric, they are using the enterprises. So you have things like this gradually establishing farmers, producers, organizations and supporting them through the NABARD or the monies available with the NBFCs or by the NGOs. That is the way forward according to me.
Okay, thank you, sir. So I think we have about last 5 to 6 minutes. So anything else that you want to kind of share from your experience, particularly about the decentralization of health and its importance for a situation like this?
See, I have 2 things to mention. One is essentially the responsibility for primary education and health, public health, should be the necessary responsibilities of the Panchayat Raj institutions. According to me, all the governments should decentralize their control over the health institutions. Let there be a health department at the state level. I am familiar with that. We should still have the local district hospital to be under the control of the Jilla Panchayat. The advantage is they will be able to tell the problems of the people to the doctors and explain to the people the problems of the doctors in dealing with that. I would strongly recommend these 2 areas, namely primary education and public health. They should be strictly under the control of the Panchayat Raj institutions. You can decide whether it should be at the Gram Panchayat level or at the block Panchayat level or at the Jilla Panchayat level, but it should be in the hands of the Panchayat Raj institutions. We have put that in the Constitution's 73rd Amendment 11th schedule, but unfortunately in most states, health still continues to be managed by the state government. You cannot have a remote control on a problem which is dealing with the people at the village level. That's my first point. The second point I want to highlight is, over my long years in government, I have realized that unless we involve the people in the implementation, no government program can succeed. The biggest problem is if it is a government program, people don't take great interest. If you make it as their program, if you involve them, then probably they will take an interest. I'll give you a simple example. We have been talking about sanitation and toilet construction for the last 30-40 years.
Yeah.
It has been a government program. My engineers will go and construct a toilet, but we could not make the people use the toilet.
Yeah, true.
Whereas later on, when we said the panchayats will do it and they will ensure that the people use it, now the usage has improved to a very large extent. Unless we involve the people, it will not improve. Second, our mobile phones. It is not a government program. Government did not take out the people should use the mobile. Now you find even a street vendor has got 2 mobile phones and he is able to manage. How? He knows that it is good for him. He has been taken into confidence by the companies. Yes, this is useful to you.
Yeah.
Unless we involve the people in a program, we will not be able to succeed. That applies to the disaster management also. If people feel that we should have social distancing, we should wash our hands, then the problem will be solved. If we keep on talking only at the state and central government levels, probably it will remain as a rhetoric and it will not reach the people. These are the 2 points I want to mention in conclusion.
Yeah, okay. So we have about 5 more minutes, and I would just like to bring back one other aspect that has not received as much attention. Even the district planning committees are constitutionally mandated bodies. And with the reverse migration happening, do you think there is even more need to make district planning committees functional again?
Yeah, that's a very large question. See, when we brought the district planning committees under the Constitution 74th Amendment, that was our idea.
Yeah.
See, there has to be a rural-urban continuum.
Yeah.
The villages do not exist independent of the nearest urban center. And the urban center cannot survive unless the villages support. We have umpteen number of cases where the water comes from the nearby village and the urban people make use of that. The children of the villages go to the schools and colleges located in the urban area. We need to have a common plan what is possible at the village level.
Yeah.
Now, there is also this principle of subsidiarity, what exactly the Gram Panchayat can do.
Yeah.
Whatever they can do, they should do. And whatever they cannot do, it should go to the next level, which is the Taluk Panchayat. What Taluk Panchayats cannot do, that should go to the Jilla Panchayat. And Jilla Panchayat has got 2 things. One is the urban area, the other is the rural area. They need to ensure that how one supports the other. Now, this is a large issue. How do we solve this? So we fixed upon the idea of a district planning committee. Historically, in this country, district planning is being talked about. There has been committees, the Hanumantrao committee and several other committees, which kept on saying there has got to be a plan at the local level. What is the strength of Kerala? In Kerala, they have a regular Gram Panchayat plan. This people's campaign for planning is going on now for the past 20 years. They have a plan for the village. And that cannot stand by itself. It has got to be integrated with the block plan. And the block plans cannot stand by themselves. They have to be integrated with the district plan. And when you do that, you know what are the problems. According to me, the district plan will start from the district. They will only tell a vision. They will say for our district, this is our priority. And these are the things which we want to do. Supposing if mulberry is the crop predominant in your district, you will say sericulture will be the key area in this district.
Yeah.
So once you have said that, the Gram Panchayats will start working. What is the plan which they have to implement to meet needs and also to meet the need of the district?
Yeah.
Then what is that they can do, how much with their own resources and how much more money they need for doing the other things. This gets integrated with the block and the district level. We did have a district plan, believe me, somewhere in the year 1987 in Mysore district. We had a huge map preparing where all we should locate the primary health centers, where we should locate the high schools, where we should locate the veterinary health clinics. All that was put in a map that was placed in the Jilla Panchayat. Depending upon the local politics, the Panchayat people agreed or disagreed. It was taken down to the Gram Panchayat. It was introduced in the Panchayat plan. So ultimately, we did prepare a district plan, which is an amalgamation of block plans, which were the amalgamation of the village Panchayat plans. District Panchayat plan is a good concept, and we should necessarily integrate the urban and rural areas and prepare a district plan. Unfortunately, now the planning commission is not in existence.
Yeah.
When I used to work in the planning commission, there was a proposal that before we discuss the state plans, we should insist on their statement that we have got district plans and we have integrated them with our state plan. Now that concept is gone, but in some states we still have state planning boards, like in Kerala and in Karnataka. They do ensure that there is a district plan and the needs of the district are taken care of when they prepare a state plan. So it is possible.
It's possible. Thank you very much, sir. I think we're just now reaching 5:30, so that I think our time is over. Thank you so much for a wonderful discourse on the role of Panchayat Raj in crisis management and also looking at the challenge and opportunities and some ideas about the future
Thank you. Thank you very
possibilities
much. I
also.
also enjoyed the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kripa.